Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. That's Lubby. I'm Jazz when it comes to here. And we are Late Night Love. We want to thank you for being here. We have a good show tonight. We're talking about family interactions, parenting, and all the various complications that kind of encompass those. That's kind of the theme of the questions we've got on board tonight. And we just got home from a family event, which is kind of an unusual thing for us. Kind of have to hustle and bustle and put the studio together and get the sound check all done. And because we had sound problems last week. We had last show. So we had to get all those worked out in a short period of time. But we managed. We're here. Raring to go. Lubby was raring to go. She was pacing the last 6 minutes.
I was in show mode. I was ready.
She was ready 6 minutes ago. She would have been happier if I had hit the button 6 minutes ago. Let me tell you, she would have been happier. All right. I break my glasses. It's just going to end up happening. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in, Lubby. Why don't you go ahead and start with our
sounds
first
good. My husband's son is turning 21, and his mother is throwing him a party. But the invitation is for everyone except his little sister that he has for me. What should I do?
Nothing. Sometimes there's nothing to do. It's sad. Don't get me wrong. It's not how I would approach the situation. You know, I would be inclusive of his little sister, regardless of my feelings towards, the other parent or whatnot. But attempt to, there's always lines, there's always caveats to everything. But there's also sometimes there's nothing you can do. Have your own celebration when you get the chance. It's okay to have two parties. It's okay for different parts of the family to celebrate separately. I think that if you wanted to do something, if his sister wants to do something, and she probably does, then set something up for yourselves.
That's good advice.
What are you going to do? Carry it around with you? Just take care of your own side. Don't worry about them. If they want to be petty in that way, well, that's a reflection of them, not of you. Yeah?
Yes.
The high road is a beautiful place. You can see everything from up there. But it's a difficult climb. Yeah, it really is. And, I feel for you. I feel for the 21-year-old who's kind of being estranged, maybe against his will, from his little sister. You feel for a little sister who just wants to always spend time with their older brothers. That's what little sisters do. They always want to be part of their lives. But, you can only control what you can control. And you never want to make it worse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This one really gets me. My boyfriend is angry that I got my period on his sheets. I told him it was an accident and I thought my period was over, but it wasn't. He made me feel pretty embarrassed and ashamed. What should I do? You poor thing. Buy the big baby another pair of sheets and be done with it.
I wouldn't even go that far. My instinct is to find another boyfriend, but I'm assuming this is all young, and they're just not used to it. They don't understand. And whether he's at a place in his life where he can listen and understand or not is something you're going to have to judge. If you're at different maturity places, well, then you're at different maturity places, and the relationship may not work. I mean, it's one thing to be kind of grossed out by it. Okay, it's silly, but when you're young and inexperienced, okay. When things are new, you get grossed out by the first handful of times you change the diaper. It's gross, but by the 100th diaper, no one cares anymore, right? It's, exposure to these things has a way of dealing with it. But at the same time, you're not the one who should have to deal with it. If there's the rest of the relationship is solid, then okay, you'll likely be able to work through it. But my suspicion is it's not. Suspicion is it's an immature person you're dealing with, and he's either have to grow up quickly, Or, you go find someone who's mature enough to deal with the nature of human bodies. Things leak out of us. Blood is not going to be the most gross thing that you're going to have to deal with in a long-term relationship. Period blood. It's just not. So, it's buckle up, buttercup, or you move on. Man, it's a learning experience, right? If he hasn't had to deal with it before in his life, you can understand to a certain extent the reaction. But only immediately,
But to shame her is not okay.
No, it's not. And you can make amends and you can grow past it, but he has to do it, and he has to do it fast. Because she shouldn't have to buy him new sheets. It just happens, right? It's one of these things. He wants new sheets. It'll wash out most likely. They got great soap these days. So there's no excuse except the excuse of inexperience and immaturity, and you either learn from it quickly or they don't, and you move on. It really is that simple. And I hate to say that, but because we always like to give as much benefit of the doubt. But, if he can't move on from this, he's not ready for the rest of a relationship. You're just not. How are you going to deal with cancer, sickness? How are you going to deal with that if you can't deal with this? Real life is hard and a lot grosser than that. Think about the long-term thing. Yeah. No one's pleased by it, It's like... So, anyway. You can kind of understand an inexperienced person. If they didn't have sisters or anything growing up, you just don't know. Ignorance can kind of cause that kind of reaction, but there's no excuse for staying in that reaction. Okay.
I always make my eldest daughter, she's 14, clean up after her brother and sister, ages 9 and 6. She gets mad at me, saying it's not her mess, so it's not her problem. What should I do?
Make your 7 and 6-year-old clean up after them damn selves. They're old enough. There's no reason for your 14-year-old daughter to be cleaning up after them. I mean, there's a difference between helping the family take care of the family space and cleaning up after your younger siblings who are damn well old enough to clean up after themselves. You can okay, hey, look, grandma's coming over. Can you help clean up their mess real quick? That's an acceptable request.
But you do it too.
Yeah. Or while you're doing something else, and that they're not going to be able to get it in time, so you ask them to that's pitching in, right? But not, I always make. That's a different thing. They're 6 and 7. They should learn how to clean up by themselves by now. They should have learned 3-4 years ago. That's at 3 years old when you start teaching them how to clean up after themselves. 2-3 years old. That's when you start. You haven't even started. You're damn straight she's going to be mad. And if you keep doing it, you're going to have a rebellious daughter at 15, 16 years old. Guess what? That's even worse. It's up to you to change course because your daughter's going to, that's how 16-year-old girls end up pregnant. Rebelling against their parents for being unreasonable. She's taking care of her. She's going to take care of her own. She's going to look for someone that loves her. So change right now. Get those 6 and 7-year-olds to clean up after themselves. Asking her to chip in family chores is one thing. Asking her to pick up after siblings who are perfectly capable of cleaning up after themselves is something else. Okay.
I live in CT. Is
Connecticut.
That Connecticut?
Yeah.
I accidentally shattered my oven door by closing it too hard in my rental. I'm okay with covering any costs, but should I let the landlord know or just order a repair on my own?
Just call the landlord, say you kind of accidentally closed the door hard, the glass shattered, and can we get it fixed? And see what he says. Because a lot of times, they've got a maintenance man. It doesn't cost them nearly as much as it will cost you. Or maybe you're up for a new stove anyway. Who knows? But my suggestion is, deal with it through the landlord. That's the right thing to do. You don't have to tell them you deliberately slammed the oven door, but you can tell them, it closed harder than you meant to. You know, it happens. Things slip out of your hands or whatnot, or you go to kick it with your foot to close it because something's hot, and you hit it a little harder and it slams. But hard enough to break the glass, you either slam that thing really, really hard. That's glass meant to deal with all kinds of heat. Or there was a flaw in it and it broke and it's not really your fault. You have to slam those doors really hard to break the glass.
Yeah, you do.
So there was either a flaw in the glass, which happens over time, right? If it's old enough, a flaw will develop and it can break. Or you deliberately slam that door really freaking hard. And, deal with the man to get it fixed, but, spend some money on a therapist to deal with your anger issues, if that's the case. But if it's not, if it just kind of slipped out your hand and it slammed really hard and the glass broke, it's actually probably not your fault. It's kind of routine things, but, the fact that you're willing to pay for it means that to me, tells me that you slammed that thing really, really hard. Maybe out of anger, maybe out of accident, maybe out of frustration, maybe not even intentionally. You're angry at something else and you just, the poor door is the one that gets the brunt of it, not even thinking about it. But, it's nice that you want to own up to it and deal with it, but maybe there was a flaw. Maybe it's a known flaw. Maybe there's a thing. You never know. Hey, I'm trying to be nice.
It could happen.
I've never, seen an oven glass break because those are thick and they're 10 heat set. But yeah, that's pretty gnarly. But if you want to send us late night love letters, send us questions. You can send them to love@latenightLove.us, and me and Lubby will answer them for you here on the air. And you can always find us at latenightLove.us and all your various social media networks. We always do appreciate the likes and shares and all that good stuff. It does help spread the word. Okay, what's next?
My mom doesn't cook anymore. She didn't cook for the last few weeks. I'm 14. My siblings are 10 and 9, and none of us know how to cook. What should I do?
Well, what is happening is your mother's exhausted. And, sandwiches for a week or so ain't going to kill you. Start taking care of yourselves a little bit. Give your mother as much of a break as you can. Start doing the other things in the life that you can do to ease her burden. There's other things you can do. Don't be a hassle doing your homework. Don't be a hassle cleaning up your room. Don't be a hassle getting up in the morning. Help out with your siblings a little bit if you can. Every little thing you can do will help. She's exhausted. And you're 14. You're old enough to follow instructions.
Hamburger helper.
Hamburger helper. A lot of these things are following instructions. YouTube's a great place to learn how to cook. Cookbooks. Cooking isn't this magical thing. You're not making spells or potions from Hogwarts. It's not that. You don't have to choose something complicated. You don't have to make a souffle.
Roasted chicken. Put a chicken in a pan, throw it in the oven, turn it on at 350 and wait for an hour. It's delicious.
Grilled cheese sandwiches. Sandwiches. Just make some sandwiches. It's okay to eat sandwiches for dinner. Scrambled eggs. It's okay to eat eggs for dinner. There's lots of things that that are easy to cook that you can do to help take the stress off your mother. Because she's probably overworked, overstressed, and exhausted. So do what you can to help. Do whatever you can to kind of lighten the load. And, you're 14. You can probably pick up a little bit of the cooking. You don't know how to cook, that's fine. You can learn to cook. And you'd be surprised what will happen when your mother sees you making efforts. It will help re-energize her.
Yes, it will.
And so, the little things matter far more than you think of. You don't need the big, huge gestures. The little things. Picking up your room. Brushing your teeth without being asked. Not giving her a hassle over homework. All the things, all those little things that irritate your mother. Just try to do less of them. No one's asking for perfection. Just try to do less of them. A little bit here, a little bit there. Go a long way. Okay, what you got?
Was it wrong to take my mom out for Mother's Day? My daughter was in Mexico alone for her birthday, so my mom and I went out to lunch for Mother's Day. And my daughter's upset we did not wait for her to return, just then celebrate. Should we have waited?
No.
No.
Tell your daughter to pound sand. It's not about her.
You took your mother out for Mother's Day.
Yeah. Now, like, we do a family thing. Like, we just actually got back from kind of a joint family birthday celebration, right? So some
And Mother's Day.
Yeah, a Mother's Day and birthday celebration. So some families do that. But no one didn't do other celebrations. It's just on Mother's Day. Everybody had their own Mother's Day celebrations, well, those who celebrate it. And then they also got together, it's perfectly fine to have more than one Mother's Day celebration. It's not, there's no, like, written in stone. You can only have one. You can only take Grandma to one dinner. I'm sure her grandmother will love to go spend an afternoon at lunch, just alone. Some alone time with your daughter. She would love it. Why? Someone's being a little selfish, but.
And she was off in Mexico
On her birthday, yeah. So tell her to, in a sense, you tell her to pound sand, but she's probably young, in her 20s. How much you want to bet? She's young and in her 20s. This is relatively perfectly natural behavior. So don't overly concern her with it. Just, it's none of her business. Yeah. You can take her out and celebrate Mother's Day whenever you want. Okay, so what do we got next?
If a father is working full time and is expecting to get 50-50 custody, how does he arrange for the kids when he is at work from 9 to 5? Just like a single mom would. You make arrangements.
Just like everybody else. Either you're a house with two working parents, right? They both work the same hours. They have to make arrangements. You deal with it the same way everybody else. Men aren't incompetent, Just because we don't normalize men being single parents, just because we don't normalize men being kind and caring and compassionate for whatever reason, doesn't mean they aren't. Yes, their kindness and caring and compassion, their parenting skills, it looks different than women do in general scope. It's because we're different. We focus on different things. And, in a sense, that's why the two together make better parents, but doesn't mean one or the other can't do just fine. Right? You do the best you can. And quite frankly, any parent that does the best they can is a better parent than two parents that don't, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter about single parenting. The question is, how do we normalize men being single parents? So we don't actually have this question. This is really a sexist question, if you think about it. If we had flipped this around and asked us about women, how are women supposed to pay all their bills if they're a single mother? How are they supposed to take care of themselves? That's sexist. It's the same thing. It's the same question. How are they supposed to take care of their family? Like somehow they're incompetent. Like somehow just because you're a woman, you can't make enough money to take care of your family. Or somehow because you're a man, you can make enough money, but you somehow can't figure out how to, pay the daycare center, hire the nanny, drop her off at grandma's on the way to work, whatever the 100 different ways people get their children taken care of. The struggle's the same, regardless of what gender you may or may not be, and when you're trying to exist in the world. Whether you're raising a family, whether you're not raising a family, we all have the same struggles. We all have different perspectives on them. We all have different solutions for them because we're all different. We all have different wants, needs, and desires. And because of that, how the outputs is going to be different. But this notion that because, one person's a woman and one person's a man means they can't, or there's certain roles. No, there's certain roles we tend to play. We tend to drift towards. Women tend to be more maternal. Men tend to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. A little rough around the edges, I guess. It's not even the word I'm looking for, but I can't find the word I'm looking for. But we all know the difference. Men and women have a different style in raising kids.
Yes.
Generically speaking, it's, actually in grand scape, if you think about it, we're fairly close. But when a child, accidentally hurts themselves, a man goes, anything broken? Yeah, and you're fine. And, a woman...
Oh, come here, let me kiss it.
Yeah, it's a vastly different response. Which one's correct? It probably depends on the situation, right? There's probably no correct answer. We just deal with these things differently. And just because their solution is different than yours or mine or hers doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. At the end of the day, it's what do you judge success by in your life, in your family's life, or in raising your children? And if you've come close to that, if they're on the path to that, then you've done your job. If having them be good human beings is your end goal, and you see them on that path, then you've done your job. If them being a success defined by career success or something, and you seeing that, and you see that they're on that path, then you've done your job. Whatever the path you want them on. If they happen to be on that path, then you've done your job. But conversely, if they are successful on a path that you necessarily didn't envision them on, if they're still successful in their mind, then you've also done your job. Parenting is a strange thing. And so instead of questioning other people's parenting ability, my suggestion is to encourage it. Instead of wondering, how do they do that? And how does anybody do it in the modern world? How does any single parent do in the modern world with inflation and stresses and all the various things going on? I don't even want to go there. But, we don't have to say it. Everybody knows all the various things going on. How does anybody get by? Okay, 2 more. What do we got? Yes, and I did deliberately stretch that one out to make this, so we can make the show actually hit a half hour. Just to let you know why I was rambling on that one.
Well, you made some good points.
Yeah, it was an opportunity to ramble and extend the show.
Should I consider keeping my 13-year-old daughter away from kids who don't have good home lives? My daughter hangs out with some kids whose parents are absentee or dysfunctional. Well,
I would actually... What we did, we can't speak for anybody else because there were kids that we, were no longer welcome because of how they were, but we brought them here.
Yes, everybody hung out here.
So the kids who had a dysfunctional parents or weren't home or they had someplace safe to go. It's not like they got away with a lot. I mean, they get a lot of freedom inside the house, but the walls were solid, so to speak, right? You don't cross the boundaries. That was the rules. We give you a big, huge sandbox to play in, so there's no reason to go outside of it. And so you go outside of it, it was the hand of God's going to come down. And, that was...
Your life as you know it is now over.
Yeah, so, they very rarely exceeded boundaries, but they also didn't really need to. Here was a safe place. Here was a place where people could come and they could go and they could hang out without being judged, without having anybody looking over their shoulder all the time. They could freely talk about all the stuff that's bothering them with their friends, with us. That kitchen has had some amazing conversations, considering we don't use it as a gathering place. We don't eat it like a dinner table. We never ate at a dinner table, but yet that kitchen has had some amazing conversations with young people over the years, helping, just giving young people a place to hang out, a place to talk.
Somebody to listen.
Do you want to make the world a better place or a worse place? instead of worrying about the influence that those kids might have on your child, think about it the other way. Think about the influence that your child can have on them. Have some faith that your child is stronger than that. That they can be the one to have influence.
Good point.
Okay. Oh yeah, here's the last one. And this one's personally I find sad, but
It's very sad. I don't like my fiance's son. How do I keep my distance? He only has him one weekend every 2 weeks. What's the matter with you that you can't, for the sake of a child and your fiance, that you can't one weekend every other weekend you can't put on a smile and go to the zoo and play nice? What the hell's the matter with you?
well, I'm going to actually take it for a little bit different strokes. First, find out, look inside yourself. I mean, a real deep, hard look inside yourself and find out why you don't like them. Does it remind you of a past relationship so you get jealous? Is that type of a reaction? Is it his fault? Maybe he's a little pain in the ass. But, maybe he's got right to be. His family disintegrated. The world as you know it fell apart.
Now you're somebody new.
Yeah, maybe his life wasn't even functional before.
Maybe he doesn't like you very much.
So, but here's the question. Who's the adult in the relationship? At some point you have to accept that you have adult responsibilities. And when you marry somebody, you marry them. That means all of them. That means all the stuff that comes with them and all the baggage they can't let go, because there's some baggage you can't let go. And so you've signed on for it. And you don't have to like them. But being more than civil is kind of required. Now, there again, caveats and all that. If he's insanely disrespectful, okay, but they didn't say that. They just said they didn't like them. They didn't say his behavior was bad. They just said they didn't like them. So for me, I would spend some time in the mirror. Maybe even talk to a therapist or a counselor about why. What's the real reason? Is it him or is it you? Start with that. He's a child. It's not his responsibility. It's yours. Keeping your distance is frankly relatively easy, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it because it's the wrong thing to do. This is a chance for you to learn and to grow as a human being, to help your family become a more tight-knit family. And that means your whole family. Not just the part that's under your house. Even though he is under your house every couple weeks. So you actually do have a responsibility to him too. And this isn't about liking or spending time with him. You don't have to like him. But you do have to respect him and the relationship and the role you all play. And it's true. You earn the titles of like mother and father, and you don't expect it. But if you do things properly, you can earn it. And that, trust me, you're earning that title from somebody who does not have to give it to you. It's an honor. It generally is. So, anyway. Families and parenting and all these things that kind of make life what life is. Some people's family are their friends. Some people's families are small. Some people's families are quite large and diverse. And it really doesn't matter as long as you all love each other. With love, compassion, and a tiny bit of forgiveness, we can all make the world a better place. including you and your family. So for me and Lubby, we want to leave you with that. Thank you for joining us. You can find us at latenightLove.us. You can send us a question, comments, suggestions, whatever you want, at love@latenightLove.us. You can find us on all your favorite social media networks and your favorite podcast service. If not, please let us know. And for me and Lubby, we want to wish you good night. Oh, wait. Where did my thing go? There it goes. I'm having trouble with buttons this week. And I want to thank you for joining us. Good night. And please remember to love everybody.
Good night.